Everyone laughed when the poor cat refused the freshman gift, until they discovered she owned the entire mall. The first morning at Crescent Moon University should have been ordinary. Instead, it became the day NYX remembered how she died. The warm autumn breeze carried the scent of cherry blossoms as dozens of freshmen gathered outside the administration building. Everyone introduced themselves. Everyone smiled. Everyone dreamed about college. Then Styling stood on the fountain. He raised a shining platinum card. "My treat today." The entire crowd gasped. "I've reserved the luxury shopping district. Everyone gets one gift. No spending limit under 50,000 credits." The students exploded. "Seriously? You're amazing. Young Master Styling. Can we buy designer bags? Luxury watches? Gaming rigs?" Styling laughed confidently. "Anything you want." Applause erupted. Only NYX quietly stepped backward. Her heart nearly stopped. These were the exact same words. Exactly like her previous life. She remembered every detail. The shopping. The card. The accusation. The betrayal. The poison. The darkness. She had died in agony. And now, she had returned. Last life, she had carried her family's unlimited executive card. Styling had accidentally bumped into her. Seconds later, over 18 billion credits disappeared from her account. Nobody believed her. Instead, Styling cried first. He claimed NYX framed him. Hidden cameras recorded only parts of the confrontation. The internet destroyed her overnight. She became known across the country as the crazy gold digger. Before she could prove the truth, someone poisoned her drink. She never learned who. Until now. This time, things would be different. NYX quietly returned home after orientation. Instead of bringing her real executive eclipse card, she locked it inside a military-grade biometric vault beneath her family's mansion. The vault required an iris scan, paw print verification, DNA authentication. Even professional thieves couldn't open it. Then she smiled. Tomorrow, she would carry a perfect replica instead. If Styling wanted to steal something, he could steal plastic. The next morning, NYX deliberately arrived late. Not because she overslept, because predators always became impatient when their prey didn't appear. Outside the luxury shopping district, nearly every freshman in Class A had already gathered. Styling paced back and forth, checking the time every few seconds. The moment a sleek pastel black limousine rolled to the curb, every head turned. NYX stepped out. She wore a simple oversized charcoal hoodie, loose cream joggers, and white sneakers. Her silky black fur shimmered softly in the morning sun, while her emerald eyes remained calm and unreadable. Despite the expensive limousine, her outfit looked almost too ordinary. The whisper started immediately. She came in a limousine but dressed like that. Probably rented it. Trying way too hard. Styling hurried over with a bright smile. "There you are. We thought you weren't coming." His cheerful tone sounded identical to his previous life. Only this time, NYX noticed the tiny twitch in his tail whenever he looked toward her pocket. He wasn't waiting for her. He was waiting for her card. Ivory gracefully walked over. Her perfectly groomed white fur practically glowed under the pastel morning light. She linked her arm through Styling's. "NYX, everyone has been waiting. You really shouldn't make the class wait." NYX calmly removed her arm. "I never asked anyone to wait." The smile on Ivory's face stiffened. Several classmates frowned. There she goes again. So full of herself. "I heard she barely talks to anyone. What a weirdo." NYX ignored every word. She had heard worse. In another lifetime. Styling clapped his paws. "Come on, everyone. Today's about making memories. We're going shopping." Cheers erupted once again. Dozens of students rushed into the luxury mall. The polished marble floors reflected pastel chandeliers overhead. Elegant instrumental music drifted through the air. Every storefront displayed the newest designer collections. Some students looked ready to faint. "I've never even been inside this place. My parents would kill me if they saw these prices." Styling spread his arms dramatically. "Relax. It's all on me." The cheering became even louder. NYX merely smiled. "Keep acting. Your performance is almost over." She purposely wandered alone through the mall. Exactly as she had in her previous life. Only this time, she paid attention. Every reflection, every security camera, every employee, every suspicious movement. Then, she felt it. A light bump against her shoulder. "Oh." Styling stumbled dramatically. "So sorry." He apologized while helping steady her. His paw brushed against the pocket holding her fake executive eclipse card. "There it is." NYX almost laughed. Last life. She never realized that tiny touch lasted almost 3 full seconds. Long enough for someone skilled to duplicate encrypted payment credentials. This time, she let him. "Take it. Enjoy your counterfeit treasure." Styling apologized once more before walking away. But as he turned around, the corner of his mouth lifted ever so slightly. He thought he'd succeeded. NYX quietly slipped her paw into her hoodie pocket. The fake card was still there. Exactly where she'd left it. Perfect. The shopping frenzy continued. Students filled basket after basket. Luxury handbags. Designer shoes, limited edition jewelry, rare perfumes, collector watches. Even the sales associates struggled to keep up. Sterling played the role of generous benefactor perfectly. If you like it, buy it. If you want to, buy two. If you're happy, I'm happy. Every sentence earned more admiration. Ivory looked at him with sparkling eyes. You really are incredible. Sterling smiled modestly. It's just money. NYX nearly rolled her eyes. She knew the truth. Sterling's family wasn't poor, but they certainly weren't wealthy enough to spend billions for fun. Everything depended on one thing: stealing someone else's fortune. Except that fortune wasn't available anymore. Mochi quietly approached NYX. Unlike everyone else, she wasn't carrying piles of shopping bags. She held only a small pastel blue notebook. You aren't buying anything. NYX smiled gently. I already have everything I need. Mochi nodded. I thought so. She hesitated before lowering her voice. Can I tell you something? NYX looked at her. I don't trust Sterling. NYX blinked. That surprised her. What makes you say that? Mochi glanced around before whispering. He keeps watching everyone's wallets. And I saw him talking privately with someone from the electronics store before we arrived. NYX's eyes narrowed. Interesting. That hadn't happened in her previous life. Perhaps rebirth wasn't changing only her. Perhaps it was changing everyone else's choices too. Thank you, NYX said softly. Mochi smiled. I don't know why, but you seem like someone I can trust. For the first time since returning, NYX felt warmth instead of hatred. Maybe not everyone in this life would betray her. Hours later, dozens of shopping bags stood stacked near the central checkout hall. Sterling stretched confidently. Everyone finished. The class cheered. Best day ever. I love college already. I knew following Sterling was the right choice. Ivory held up a diamond-studded bracelet that shimmered beneath the pastel lights. Do you think it's too expensive? Sterling laughed. If you like it. It's priceless. The surrounding students squealed. NYX quietly checked the time on her phone. Almost. 3, 2, 1. The store manager approached with a respectful bow. Sir, your total comes to 22.8 billion credits. The payment terminal lit up. Sterling smiled. Without the slightest hesitation, he reached into his pocket and pulled out his black card. NYX's emerald eyes gleamed. The trap had officially begun. The entire checkout hall fell silent. Even the soft piano music seemed to dissipate. Every student watched Sterling with admiration. Some were already recording on their phones. Look at him. 22 billion credits without even blinking. I've never met someone this rich. Ivory slipped closer to him, her fluffy white tail curling around his arm. I knew you were amazing. Sterling flashed his practice smile. For my classmates, it's nothing. He slid the black card into the payment terminal. Beep. The machine processed the payment. 3 seconds. 4, 5. A green light flashed. Payment approved. The class erupted. He did it. I told you. Young Master Sterling. Applause echoed throughout the luxury mall. Employees smiled politely while packaging mountains of shopping bags. Sterling exhaled in relief. It worked. Exactly as planned. He secretly glanced toward NYX. She wasn't looking at him. She was looking at her phone. No notification. No missing balance. No emergency alerts from the Obsidian Holdings banking system. Her real executive Eclipse card remained locked inside the biometric vault beneath her family's estate. Completely untouched. NYX smiled to herself. Then where had the money come from? A few seconds later, Sterling's own phone vibrated violently. He glanced down. The confident smile instantly froze. His pupils shrank. Color drained from his face. His legs nearly gave out beneath him. His account balance. 8,412 credits. Every company account. Every personal account. Every emergency fund. Completely emptied. His family's reserve capital. Gone. No. He whispered. No. His breathing became uneven. This isn't possible. Ivory immediately noticed. Sterling. What's wrong? He forced a smile. And nothing. Just checking a message. His paw shook so badly he nearly dropped the phone. The store manager approached with another elegant bow. Congratulations, Mr. Sterling. As one of our highest single-day purchases, you've qualified for our Royal Sapphire membership. Several students gasped again. That's incredible. He really is rich. Sterling barely heard them. His ears rang. 22 billion credits. Gone. He had expected someone else to pay. Instead, he had drained every accessible company account his father entrusted him with. His father would kill him. NYX pretended to admire a nearby display. Inside, she almost laughed. So, without stealing from me, you actually spent your own family's fortune. How unfortunate. Everyone. Sterling suddenly raised his voice. The class looked toward him. He forced another smile. Our shopping isn't over. We're still going to Crystal Springs Sky Spa. The student screamed excitedly. Seriously? The most expensive spa in the city. I've wanted to go there forever. Ivory wrapped both paws around Sterling's arm. I knew you'd keep your promise. Sterling swallowed hard. He couldn't back down now. If everyone started questioning his wealth, everything would collapse. He only needed one more opportunity. One more chance to get close to NYX's card. As the class left the mall, Sterling deliberately slowed his pace. Soon, only NYX remained beside him. He lowered his voice. NYX. She looked at him calmly. I wanted to apologize. For earlier. She tilted her head. What happened earlier? When I bumped into you. Oh. She smiled faintly. It was just an accident. Sterling searched her face carefully. No suspicion. No anger. No fear. Was she really this naive? Oh. Was she hiding something? Meanwhile, high above the shopping district, inside the mall's executive security office, several security monitors replayed footage from earlier that morning. A security supervisor frowned. Pause. The technician froze the frame. Sterling's shoulder collided with NYX. Then, his paw lingered near her pocket. Longer than necessary. The supervisor narrowed his eyes. Zoom in. The footage sharpened. Sterling's claws appeared to press a tiny silver device against the outside of NYX's hoodie. The technician blinked. What is that? The supervisor slowly stood. I don't know. But save this recording. Immediately. Outside, the convoy of luxury buses arrived at Crystal Springs Sky Spa. Pastel waterfalls flowed beneath crystal bridges. Floating lanterns reflected across turquoise pools. Cherry blossom petals drifted gently through the air. The student stared in awe. It's beautiful. It looks like a dream. I've only seen this place online. Sterling climbed off the bus first. His confidence had returned, at least on the surface. I reserved the imperial experience. Everyone follows me. The receptionist greeted them warmly. Welcome. For 30 guests. The total package is 14 billion credits. She presented another payment terminal. Sterling's smile twitched. Again, he inserted the same black card. Beep. Transaction declined. The receptionist frowned politely. I'm terribly sorry. There are insufficient funds. Silence. Complete silence. One student laughed nervously. Good one. Another smiled. Nice joke. Sterling didn't laugh. His face had become ghostly pale. The receptionist tried again. Declined. Again. Declined. Again. Declined. The whispers began. I thought. He was rich. Didn't he just spend 22 billion? Maybe the machine's broken. Ivory's confident smile slowly disappeared. She looked at Sterling, then at the receptionist, then back again. For the first time, doubt entered her eyes. And NYX knew. The mask Sterling had spent years creating had just begun to crack. The whispers spread through the spa lobby like ripples across still water. He got declined. That has to be a mistake. The terminal must be broken. There are 3 payment terminals, the receptionist replied politely. We can certainly try another one. Sterling forced a laugh. Go ahead. His voice sounded much less confident than before. A second terminal was brought over. He inserted the card. Beep. Transaction declined. The notification echoed through the marble lobby. No one spoke. Even the waterfalls outside suddenly seemed unbearably loud. Ivory quickly recovered. There must be a banking issue. Exactly. One of Sterling's followers immediately chimed in. His family owns dozens of companies. What does 14 billion matter? Sterling nodded eagerly. Right. My bank sometimes freezes large transactions. I'll make a quick call. He stepped aside, pretending to dial someone. NYX watched quietly. The screen of his phone was black. He hadn't called anyone. He was simply buying time. While everyone waited, Mochi wandered over to NYX. You knew this would happen, didn't you? NYX raised an eyebrow. What makes you think that? You've looked calm all day. Everyone else keeps reacting. You've just been watching. NYX smiled. I've learned that people reveal who they really are when money gets involved. Mochi nodded thoughtfully. I think you're right. 5 minutes later, Sterling returned. My father is in a meeting. He'll transfer the money shortly. The student sighed in relief. I knew it. See, I told you there was nothing to worry about. The receptionist bowed. We'll gladly wait 10 minutes. Sterling's heart nearly stopped. 10 minutes. His father wasn't sending anything. If his father had already discovered the missing company funds, Sterling would be lucky if he wasn't disowned before sunset. The clock ticked. 1 minute. 2. 5. 8. Every second felt like an hour. Then, Sterling's phone rang. His entire body stiffened. The caller ID displayed only one word. Father. He hesitated. The ringtone continued. Everyone looked at him. Ivory smiled. Go on. I'm sure everything's fixed. With trembling paws, Sterling answered. Hello. A furious roar exploded from the speaker. So it was you. You emptied the emergency development account. Do you have any idea what you've done? Sterling instinctively lowered the volume. Too late. Several nearby students had already heard. His face turned snow white. I can explain. Explain? You cost the company our largest contract this year. Our investors are demanding answers. Get home. Now. The call ended. Sterling stood frozen. No one spoke. Then one student laughed awkwardly. So? That wasn't your dad transferring money. Sterling snapped. Mind your own business. The sudden outburst shocked everyone. His carefully crafted image of a gentle, generous richest cracked even further. The receptionist cleared her throat. So? If payment cannot be completed, we'll have to cancel today's reservation. Sterling clenched his fists. His claws dug into his palms. Then, his eyes slowly turned toward NYX. Exactly as they had in her previous life. There it is. The look. The desperation. The calculation. He forced another smile. NYX. She looked at him innocently. Yes. He laughed nervously. I forgot. Didn't you say your family owns several businesses too? I was wondering. Could you cover today's bill? I'll repay you tomorrow. The entire class turned toward NYX. Some looked hopeful. Others looked skeptical. One student scoffed. Huh. She's wearing the same hoodie as this morning. Another laughed. She probably can't even afford lunch. Ivory folded her arms. Sterling. Why would you ask her? NYX looked down at her sneakers before softly shaking her head. I'm sorry. I can't. Sterling's eye twitched. What do you mean you can't? She gave an embarrassed smile. My limousine was borrowed. My clothes are old. I don't even have enough money for this backpack. She gently lifted the small shopping bag she'd accepted earlier. Several students immediately burst into laughter. I knew it. She's pretending. What kind of rich person dresses like that? Sterling stared at her. Something felt wrong. He was certain she'd been carrying a black executive card. He'd scanned it himself. Why wasn't anything happening? Why hadn't her account been drained? What had he missed? Just then, NYX's phone vibrated. A secure notification appeared. Security Division report ready. She discreetly opened the encrypted file. Inside was a detailed investigation her family's security team had completed in only a few hours. It included surveillance photos, financial records, communication logs, and several images of Sterling secretly meeting with a former payment systems engineer. NYX's emerald eyes narrowed. So, she thought, you didn't invent the card cloning method yourself. You hired someone. The report also contained one final attachment. A still frame from the mall's security cameras. Sterling's hidden scanner was clearly visible against her hoodie. Perfect. This time, she finally had proof. Not just of attempted theft, but of conspiracy. NYX quietly locked her phone. Across the lobby, Sterling was still desperately trying to convince everyone that everything was under control. He didn't realize it yet, but the game had changed. In her previous life, she had spent all her energy trying to defend herself. In this life, she wasn't defending. She was collecting evidence. And every lie Sterling told was tightening the noose around his own neck. Sterling straightened his jacket and forced another confident smile. Everyone, don't panic. It's only a temporary banking issue. I'll have it sorted out within the hour. The words sounded convincing, but the confidence behind them was gone. His ears twitched nervously. His tail wouldn't stop flicking. The students noticed. One of the boys stepped forward. So, are we still going inside? Sterling hesitated. Of course. The receptionist smiled apologetically. I'm afraid we cannot admit guests until payment has been completed. The smile on Sterling's face completely vanished. Ivory suddenly spoke. Maybe we should just leave. Several students immediately objected. Leave? I've been looking forward to this all week. I already told my parents I'd be at Crystal Springs. I even posted it on social media. Another student lifted several luxury shopping bags. If we're leaving, at least we're keeping the gifts. Sterling's heart skipped a beat. No. Everyone turned toward him. I mean, we should return the gifts first. The lobby instantly became silent. Then someone laughed. You've got to be kidding. Another frowned. A gift is a gift. You already gave them to us. You can't ask for them back. Sterling's polite mask cracked a little further. You don't understand. I really need them returned. His voice was desperate now. Please. The classmates looked at one another. Nobody moved. One student quietly hugged her designer handbag closer to her chest. Another discreetly stepped backward. Ivory instinctively covered the diamond necklace Sterling had bought for her. NYX watched quietly. Exactly the same. The moment money disappeared, so did loyalty. Sterling looked around frantically. We're classmates. We should help each other. A tall orange tabby crossed his arms. Funny. You didn't say that when you were showing off. Another added. You said they were gifts. So they're ours. The crowd slowly began nodding. Within seconds, almost everyone agreed. No one intended to return anything. Mochi quietly leaned toward NYX. They've turned on him so quickly. NYX gave a faint smile. They were never loyal. They were loyal to what they thought he had. Sterling suddenly grabbed Ivory's paw. Ivory, you'll return the necklace, right? She froze. Her smile became strained. It's already mine. You gave it to me. Sterling stared at her in disbelief. You too. She avoided his eyes. I never asked you to spend so much. His mouth slowly fell open. The girl he'd spent years trying to impress was abandoning him first. His breathing became heavier. His composure shattered. You ungrateful hypocrites. The entire lobby froze. I spent everything on you. I made all of you look important. And this is how you repay me. The students erupted. We forced you. You volunteered. You begged us to accept. Don't blame us because you're broke. Within seconds, the elegant spa lobby transformed into a shouting match. Luxury guests nearby stopped to watch. Employees quietly called security. NYX slipped a small wireless recorder from her hoodie pocket. She casually pressed one button. Recording started. She had no intention of interrupting. Sometimes, people buried themselves better than anyone else could. Sterling pointed directly at NYX. It's her. The room became quiet again. Everyone followed his paw. If she hadn't come today, none of this would have happened. NYX blinked. Me? Yes. You've been sabotaging me all day. She tilted her head. I've barely spoken. You somehow made my money disappear. Several classmates exchanged confused looks. One whispered, that doesn't even make sense. Another nodded. Yeah. How could she control his bank account? Sterling realized he'd spoken too much. He quickly changed tactics. She cursed my luck. The room became even quieter. Someone actually snorted. You've lost it. Just then, a calm voice echoed across the lobby. Excuse me. Everyone turned. The mall's head of security had just entered alongside two investigators in navy uniforms. The security chief looked directly at Sterling. Mr. Sterling, would like to ask you a few questions regarding an incident that occurred inside the shopping district earlier today. Sterling froze. What incident? The investigator held up a tablet. We have surveillance footage showing what appears to be an unauthorized electronic scanning device being used during physical contact with another customer. Sterling's pupil shrank. His breathing stopped. No. That's impossible. The investigator continued. The device resembles equipment commonly used to copy encrypted payment credentials. Several students gasped. What? A card skimmer? You mean? He tried to steal someone's card. The investigator nodded. We're still determining the facts, but would appreciate your cooperation. Sterling instinctively looked at NYX. She simply met his gaze with a calm, unreadable expression. For the first time all day, he felt genuine fear, because he finally realized NYX wasn't reacting like prey. She had been waiting for this moment all along, and somewhere deep inside, Sterling began to wonder if every step he had taken since morning had been exactly what she wanted. The entire lobby fell deathly silent. Only the gentle sound of the indoor waterfall echoed through the enormous hall. Every pair of eyes was fixed on Sterling. The confident campus prince, who had been surrounded by admirers all morning, now looked like a frightened kitten trapped in a corner. The lead investigator spoke calmly. Mr. Sterling, would you come with us for a few questions? Sterling swallowed hard. I don't know what you're talking about. The investigator nodded. That's perfectly fine. You can explain after you've seen the footage. His ears flattened. Footage. The investigator tapped the tablet. A crystal-clear security video began playing. The recording showed the luxury mall corridor. Students laughing. Shopping bags everywhere. Then, NYX walking alone. A second later, Sterling deliberately bumped into her. At first glance, it looked completely accidental. The investigator zoomed in. The lobby collectively gasped. Hidden between Sterling's fingers was a tiny metallic scanner no larger than a coin. His paw lingered against NYX's hoodie for nearly 4 seconds. Then he quietly slipped the device back into his sleeve. One student whispered, "He planned that." Another covered her mouth. "It wasn't an accident." Mochi looked toward NYX. "So that's why you weren't surprised." NYX simply folded her paws behind her back. Sterling's face had completely lost its color. This is fake. The video's edited." The investigator calmly shook his head. The footage came directly from the mall's internal security servers. It hasn't been altered. Another investigator stepped forward carrying a small evidence bag. Inside lay the very same silver scanning device. "We recovered this from beneath a display cabinet shortly after the incident. It appears someone discarded it in a hurry." Sterling instinctively took half a step backward. That tiny movement didn't escape anyone's notice. Ivory slowly released Sterling's arm. You really tried to steal someone's bank card." Sterling immediately shook his head. "No. I wasn't stealing. I was just..." His voice caught in his throat. He couldn't think of a lie, because every lie now had evidence waiting to destroy it. One of the orange tabby students frowned. So, you really asked us to go shopping? Planning to pay with someone else's money? Sterling remained silent. Another classmate looked horrified. Was this all a scam? The whispers spread rapidly. I trusted him. I even defended him. I called NYX a liar. Someone quietly placed their designer shopping bag on the floor. The excitement from earlier had completely vanished. The lead investigator turned toward NYX. Miss NYX, we believe you may have been the intended victim. Would you like to file an official complaint? Dozens of eyes shifted toward her. This was the moment. Last life. She had shouted, cried, begged. No one listened. This life. She simply smiled politely. I will. The answer was calm, emotionless, professional. Sterling's knees nearly buckled. Just then, another black luxury limousine rolled into the resort entrance. Unlike ordinary vehicles, its doors carried a silver crescent emblem. Several business guests nearby immediately stood straighter. The security staff bowed respectfully. The manager hurried outside personally. The rear door opened. An enormous elderly black Maine Coon stepped out. His long fur shimmered with silver streaks, and his emerald eyes radiated quiet authority. Chairman Obsidian, founder of Obsidian Holdings, one of the wealthiest cats in the country. The atmosphere changed instantly. Even the investigators greeted him respectfully. Chairman. He acknowledged them with a small nod before walking directly toward NYX. Little star. His deep voice softened. Are you hurt? NYX smiled warmly. I'm fine, Grandpa. Without hesitation, the old Maine Coon gently brushed a speck of dust from her hoodie. I told you. You insisted on living like an ordinary student. I worried something like this might happen. NYX chuckled softly. I handled it. You always do. The students stared with their mouths hanging open. The chairman had just brushed dust off NYX's clothes himself. Not because they were dirty, because he cherished her. One student whispered, Grandpa. Another muttered, wait. Chairman Obsidian doesn't have grandchildren. Mochi quietly smiled. So she really wasn't lying. Chairman Obsidian turned toward the investigators. My granddaughter informed our security division immediately after noticing suspicious behavior. Our investigators independently collected evidence before your department arrived. He handed over a secure data drive. It contained surveillance analysis, financial records, and communications linking Mr. Sterling to a former electronic payment engineer. The lead investigator accepted it carefully. Thank you, Chairman. This will greatly assist our investigation. Sterling felt his world collapsing. He had spent months preparing his scheme, carefully selecting a target, studying NYX's routine, learning how to clone executive payment credentials. Yet from the very beginning, NYX had known. Every move he made, she had allowed. Every mistake, she had quietly documented. He hadn't been hunting prey. He had walked willingly into a trap set by someone far more patient than he could ever imagine. And the trap was only beginning to close. Sterling stood frozen. His breathing was shallow. His mind replayed the day over and over. The bump, the fake confidence, the shopping spree, the failed payment, the investigators, the security footage, the chairman. Everything had fallen apart in just a few hours. He slowly looked toward NYX. For the first time, he realized she had never looked afraid. Not once. She had been watching him from the beginning. One of the investigators broke the silence. Mr. Sterling, we've also reviewed your recent financial activity. Sterling's ears twitched. What about it? The investigator opened another folder. 3 months ago, you purchased several prohibited electronic payment cloning devices through a shell company. We also discovered encrypted messages between you and a former payment systems engineer. Sterling's eyes widened. How? How did you get those? Chairman Obsidian answered calmly. When someone attempts to steal from my family, we investigate thoroughly. His voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Every word carried weight. When someone attempts to steal from my family, we investigate thoroughly. His voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Every word carried weight. The students exchanged nervous glances. So, he planned this for months. He wasn't just pretending to be rich. He was planning to rob someone. Ivory felt her stomach tighten. She slowly remembered every moment she defended Sterling, every insult she'd thrown at NYX, every time she'd laughed along with the others. Shame washed over her. Mochi quietly walked over to NYX. I owe you an apology. NYX looked at her, surprised. For what? I didn't insult you. But I didn't stop everyone else either. NYX smiled gently. You were the only one who warned me. You don't owe me anything. Mochi let out a relieved breath. It was the first genuine smile either of them had shared that day. Sterling suddenly shouted. No! This isn't fair. Everyone turned. I only borrowed the technology. I never actually stole anything. The lead investigator calmly replied. Attempted financial fraud. Possession of illegal electronic payment cloning equipment. conspiracy to commit grand theft. They are all criminal offenses. Sterling's legs finally gave out. He collapsed onto the polished marble floor. At that moment, several black SUVs pulled into the circular driveway. The doors opened. A middle-aged silver tabby rushed out. His expensive suit was wrinkled. His breathing was uneven. Behind him came several company executives. It was Sterling's father, Mr. Ashford, the chairman of Ashford Technologies. The moment he saw Chairman Obsidian, his face turned pale. Without hesitation, he bowed deeply. Chairman Obsidian, I sincerely apologize. I had no idea my son had done something so disgraceful. Chairman Obsidian remained expressionless. Your apology should be directed elsewhere. Ashford immediately turned toward NYX. He lowered himself into another respectful bow. Miss NYX, I am deeply sorry. My family has failed to educate him properly. I accept full responsibility. NYX studied him quietly. Unlike Sterling, his father looked genuinely horrified. Not because of the money, because of the betrayal. Ashford slowly turned toward his son. His voice trembled. Sterling, tell me, is it true? Sterling avoided his father's eyes. I only wanted one successful transaction. Ashford closed his eyes. So it is true. A heavy silence filled the lobby. Then, a sharp crack echoed through the hall. Ashford had slapped Sterling across the face. Not hard enough to injure him. Just enough to shatter the illusion that he would be protected. You've disgraced our family. You've betrayed our trust. You tried to ruin an innocent student. And for what? Money you never earned. Sterling lowered his head. He couldn't answer. Ashford reached into his jacket pocket. He removed an executive access badge, a company seal, and a set of luxury apartment keys. He placed all three into an investigator's evidence tray. As of this moment, Sterling has no authority within Ashford Technologies. He is removed from every internship, trust account, and company program. The executives standing behind him nodded solemnly. One quietly recorded the announcement. Sterling stayed in disbelief. Dad! You can't. Ashford interrupted him. No, you did this yourself. Across the lobby, the students watched in stunned silence. Just this morning, Sterling had looked untouchable. Now, he had lost his reputation, his future, and his family's trust. NYX didn't smile. She didn't celebrate. She simply watched. Justice wasn't loud. It didn't need applause. Sometimes, the truth was punishment enough. But deep inside, she knew one thing. This still wasn't the end. Because in her previous life, someone had poisoned her. Sterling had wanted her money. But someone else had wanted her dead. And that person was still out there. Sterling was escorted toward the investigator's vehicle. Just before reaching the door, he suddenly stopped. He slowly turned around. His eyes landed on NYX. There was no arrogance left. Only confusion. Why? His voice was barely above a whisper. You knew. You knew everything. Why didn't you stop me? The entire lobby became quiet again. Everyone waited for NYX's answer. She looked at him calmly. If I had stopped you, you would have claimed I misunderstood. You would have destroyed the evidence. You would have found another victim. Sterling's shoulders slumped. NYX continued. I didn't make your choices. You made them yourself. You simply believed no one would catch you. The investigators gently guided Sterling into the vehicle. For once, he offered no resistance. The class remained standing in the lobby. No one spoke. No one knew where to look. Eventually, a brown Scottish fold stepped forward. He scratched the back of his neck awkwardly. NYX. I'm sorry. I called you a freeloader. Another student lowered her ears. I laughed when everyone else laughed. I never even gave you a chance. One after another, the apologies came. Some were sincere. Some were spoken only because Chairman Obsidian was standing nearby. NYX could tell the difference immediately. She accepted neither praise nor excuses. She simply nodded politely. The past is the past. But trust, it has to be earned. The students lowered their heads. None of them could argue. Only Ivory remained silent. She stood alone near the marble staircase, staring at the sparkling necklace around her neck. Earlier that morning, she had admired it. Now, it felt unbearably heavy. Slowly, she unclasped it. She walked toward the receptionist. I'd like to return this. The receptionist smiled politely. I'm sorry. Only the original purchaser can process returns. Ivory froze. She looked down at the necklace. It suddenly felt worthless. Not because of its price. Because of what it represented. Mochi quietly joined NYX outside. The afternoon sun painted the pastel gardens in shades of pink, lavender, and gold. Can I ask you something? NYX nodded. You already knew Sterling was dangerous. So why did you still come today? NYX watched cherry blossom petals drift across the fountain. Because some battles can't be avoided. If I kept running, he would simply find another opportunity. I wanted him to reveal himself. Mochi thought for a moment. So, you trusted yourself more than you feared him. NYX smiled. Exactly. Just then, Chairman Obsidian approached. My little star. The investigators have another question. NYX nodded. They walked into a private conference room inside the resort. The lead investigator placed several photographs on the table. Most showed Sterling. But one photograph caught NYX's attention immediately. It showed someone wearing a hood. Only the tail was visible. Long. Silky. Pure white. NYX's breathing slowed. That tail. She recognized it. The investigator noticed. Do you know this individual? NYX remained silent for several seconds. A memory surfaced. Her previous life. The shopping mall. The online rumors. The hospital. Then, a bottle of fruit tea. She remembered setting it down for only a few seconds. When she returned, someone was standing nearby. She never saw the face. Only a long white tail disappearing around the corner. NYX slowly closed her eyes. It wasn't Sterling. Everyone in the room looked at her. The one who poisoned me. She stopped herself. The one who tampered with my drink. Had a tail exactly like this. The room fell silent. The investigator frowned. So there may have been an accomplice. Chairman Obsidian's expression darkened. I want every piece of surveillance from that day re-examined. The investigator nodded. We've already started. Outside the conference room, Ivory stood hidden behind a decorative pillar. Her breathing had become uneven. Her paws trembled uncontrollably. She hadn't heard the entire conversation. Only one sentence. The one who tampered with my drink. A single bead of sweat rolled down her forehead. How? How could NYX know about that? Ivory quickly covered her mouth. No. Stay calm. There was no proof. No one could possibly know. She turned and hurried down the hallway. She never noticed. One of the security cameras followed her every step. Nor did she notice Chairman Obsidian's head of security quietly watching her from the opposite corridor. His sharp emerald eyes narrowed. Without saying a word, he pressed a button on his earpiece. Begin discreet surveillance on the white Persian. Do not approach. I want to know where she goes. And who she contacts. Far away. Ivory pulled out her phone with shaking paws. She dialed a number that wasn't saved under a name. Only one symbol appeared on the screen. The call connected. Her voice was barely a whisper. Something's gone wrong. The mysterious voice on the other end replied calmly. I know. Then, the line went dead. NYX's greatest enemy had finally made their feist move. Ivory stood motionless, staring at the dark phone screen. Her heart pounded so violently she thought everyone in the hallway could hear it. The mysterious caller had hung up after saying only 2 words. I know. No comfort. No instructions. No reassurance. Just, I know. A chill ran down her spine. Several floors above, inside the resort's security operations room, dozens of monitors displayed every corridor in real time. Chief of Security Raven, a tall black tuxedo cat with silver eyes, folded his arms. On one monitor, Ivory hurried through the hallway. On another, she had just finished a phone call. Raven pressed his earpiece. Team 3. Maintain visual surveillance. No contact. I want to know who she's meeting. Understood. Meanwhile, NYX and Chairman Obsidian sat inside the private conference room. The investigators spread several folders across the polished wooden table. One investigator cleared his throat. We've recovered deleted files from Sterling's laptop. NYX remained silent. What did you find? The investigator opened the folder. Sterling had detailed profiles on 17 wealthy freshmen. Every page contained photographs, family backgrounds, estimated assets, daily routines, class schedules, favorite cafes, dormitory numbers. The investigators continued. He wasn't targeting only you. You were simply the richest. NYX wasn't surprised. Predators rarely hunted only once. Mochi quietly knocked on the conference room door. May I come in? Chairman Obsidian smiled. Of course. Mochi hesitated before placing a small pastel notebook on the table. I think this belongs to the investigation. Everyone looked at her. I've been writing down everything strange I've noticed since orientation. The investigator opened the notebook. Inside were dates, times, locations, descriptions. One page caught his attention immediately. Orientation morning. Sterling disappeared for 18 minutes. A return from the underground parking garage. I was carrying a small silver case. Another page. Shopping mall. Sterling met an unknown orange tabby wearing a delivery uniform. I exchanged something small. I lasted approximately 12 seconds. The investigator looked impressed. This is extremely helpful. Mochi lowered her ears shyly. I just like writing things down. NYX smiled warmly. You noticed what everyone else ignored. Just then, one of the investigators received a message. His expression changed. We've identified the delivery uniform. He turned the tablet toward everyone. It belongs to Quicktail Logistics. A photograph appeared. An orange tabby. Name. Rusty. Occupation. Courier. Former electronics technician. Recently dismissed. NYX narrowed her eyes. Another piece of the puzzle. Across town, Rusty sat alone inside a dimly lit repair shop. The television mounted on the wall played breaking news. University student Sterling Ashford is currently assisting investigators regarding alleged financial crimes. Rusty's whiskers twitched. He immediately grabbed his phone. No answer. He called again. Still nothing. A third time. Voicemail. His breathing became uneven. Idiot. You got caught. He looked toward a locked toolbox in the corner. Inside, several identical payment scanners remained hidden. Before he could move, a loud knock echoed through the shop. Knock, knock, knock. Rusty froze. Another knock. Then a calm voice. Quick tail delivery. We have a package requiring signature. Rusty's pupils narrowed. No one delivered packages this late. He quietly reached for the toolbox. But before his paw touched it, the front door burst open. Police! Don't move! Within seconds, officers flooded the room. Rusty tried to run through the back entrance, only to find more officers waiting. The toolbox clattered onto the floor. Dozens of illegal electronic skimming devices spilled across the tiles. One officer quietly muttered, "Looks like we found our supplier." Back at Crystal Springs Resort, the lead investigator received another call. He smiled slightly. "We've arrested the electronic supplier." Chairman Obsidian nodded. "Excellent. But we're still missing one person." Everyone knew exactly who he meant. The mysterious mastermind. The one connected to Ivory. The one who had possibly poisoned NYX in another life. Outside, the students were preparing to leave. Luxury buses lined the entrance. No one was laughing anymore. No one was taking selfies. No one spoke about designer brands. The excitement of the morning felt like it belonged to another lifetime. As NYX walked toward her limousine, several classmates instinctively stepped aside. Not out of fear, out of respect. One small gray kitten nervously approached. "NYX." She turned. "I'm really sorry. I believed everything people said about you." NYX smiled gently. "Next time, judge others by their actions, not by the loudest voices." The kitten nodded seriously. "I will." As NYX entered the limousine, Chairman Obsidian looked out the window. "You've changed." NYX smiled faintly. "I've learned." The chairman nodded. "I noticed. You no longer seek revenge. You seek the truth." NYX looked out at the pastel sunset. "I thought revenge would heal me." She paused. "It doesn't. It only creates more victims." Chairman Obsidian smiled proudly. "Your parents would be proud to hear that." Far across the city, inside an elegant penthouse, a figure stood before a floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the glowing skyline. Only a silhouette was visible. Beside them lay a sleek white mask. A phone buzzed. The figure answered. "The supplier has been arrested." A calm voice responded. "I expected that. What about styling?" "Finished." The figure remained silent for a moment, then slowly smiled. "It doesn't matter. He was only a pawn." The call ended. The figure picked up a framed university class photograph. Everyone's faces had been marked with small red circles. Except one. NYX. Her face had a black X drawn across it. The figure softly whispered, "You survived once. But you won't survive forever." The photograph caught the last rays of the setting sun. Then, a single claw slowly tore NYX's picture straight down the middle. The following Monday, classes resumed as if nothing had happened. The campus buzzed with its usual energy. Students hurried between pastel-colored buildings, carrying books, iced coffees, and backpacks. If someone had visited the university that morning, they would never have guessed that only 3 days earlier, one of the biggest financial fraud investigations in the city's history had begun there. For most students, life went on. For NYX, the real battle was only beginning. A sleek black luxury SUV stopped outside the university gates. NYX stepped out, wearing the same simple charcoal hoodie and cream joggers she had worn on the first day. She could have worn custom designer clothing worth millions. Instead, she preferred blending into the crowd. Money attracted attention. Attention attracted enemies. She had learned that lesson once already. Money attracted attention. Attention attracted enemies. She had learned that lesson once already. As she walked across campus, conversations suddenly grew quieter. Students glanced at her before quickly looking away. Some smiled awkwardly. Others bowed their heads in embarrassment. News had spread faster than wildfire. Everyone now knew who she really was. Not just the granddaughter of Chairman Obsidian, but the future heir of Obsidian Holdings. The richest family in the country. Yet despite all that, she still dressed like any ordinary student. The contrast left everyone speechless. NYX. Mochi waved enthusiastically from across the courtyard. She ran over carrying 2 cups of milk tea. "I got your favorite." NYX laughed softly. "You don't even know my favorite." "I guessed." She handed one over. "If I'm wrong, I'll drink both." NYX accepted it. One sip. Honey jasmine. Her favorite. She smiled. "You guessed right." Mochi grinned proudly. "I knew it." For the first time in a long while, NYX felt something she hadn't experienced since her rebirth. A genuine friendship. One with no hidden motives. No jealousy. No lies. Inside the classroom, however, the atmosphere was completely different. No one dared sit in NYX's usual seat. It remained empty until she arrived. The moment she entered, the room fell silent. Even the professor paused for a second before smiling politely. "Good morning, everyone." Class began. Or at least, it tried to. Every few minutes, someone would secretly glance toward NYX. Some out of curiosity, others out of guilt. NYX ignored all of it. She focused on taking notes. She hadn't come to university to prove she was rich. She had come to learn. Meanwhile, across campus, Ivory sat alone beneath a flowering cherry tree. For the first time since enrolling, no one surrounded her. No one complimented her. No one asked to take pictures with her. The campus goddess had become the center of uncomfortable whispers, not because anyone knew about her secret, but because everyone had seen how quickly she switched sides. One of her former friends walked past without stopping. Another deliberately ignored her greeting. Ivory hugged her knees. This wasn't how she'd imagined college. Her phone buzzed. One message. Unknown number. Meet me tonight. Same place. No signature. No name. Just those 4 words. Ivory immediately deleted the message. But someone had already seen it. From the roof of the adjacent building, Chief of Security Raven lowered his binoculars. He quietly spoke into his microphone. Subject received new instructions. Prepare surveillance team. Tonight we follow. That evening, the sun dipped below the horizon. Pastel pink skies faded into deep violet. NYX sat on the balcony of her villa overlooking the university. A gentle breeze carried the scent of lavender and blooming jasmine. Chairman Obsidian stepped outside with 2 cups of tea. You've been thinking. NYX accepted the cup. I'm missing something. What? She stared at the stars. Sterling wanted money. Rusty built the equipment. Ivory is hiding something. But. She paused. They all seem afraid of someone. Chairman Obsidian nodded. I reached the same conclusion. They're taking orders. Exactly. Neither spoke for a while. Then NYX quietly added. The mastermind doesn't care about money. Chairman Obsidian looked at her. What makes you think that? If it were only money, they would have disappeared after the first failure. She looked toward the city lights. But they keep coming. They want something else. Across town, an abandoned greenhouse stood hidden behind rows of old cedar trees. Moonlight filtered through cracked glass panels. The air smelled faintly of damp earth and roses. Ivory nervously stepped inside. Her paws trembled. She looked around. No one. Then, a voice echoed through the darkness. You're late. A tall figure slowly emerged from the shadows. Their face remained hidden beneath a long hood. Only one thing was clearly visible. A magnificent snow-white tail. Ivory lowered her head immediately. I'm sorry. The figure stopped only a few feet away. So, you failed. Ivory swallowed. I didn't know NYX remembered so much. The hooded figure became very still. Remembered? Ivory quickly realized what she'd said. I mean. Before she could finish, the figure grabbed her by the chin. You'd better choose your words carefully. Ivory's breathing became shallow. I'm sorry. The hooded figure let go. Sterling was disposable. Rusty was disposable. You. The figure leaned closer. Are replaceable. Ivory's ears flattened against her head. I understand. The figure turned toward the broken glass ceiling. The real game begins now. You have one final chance. Ivory nodded desperately. I won't fail again. The figure slowly smiled beneath the hood. You'd better not. Neither of them noticed. High in the branches of a nearby cedar tree, a tiny surveillance drone, disguised as a pastel-colored songbird, silently recorded every word. Miles away, inside Obsidian Holdings' secure command center, Chief Raven watched the live feed. He smiled for the first time that night. We finally found the mastermind's messenger. He pressed a secure call button. Miss NYX. The hunt has entered its next stage. NYX's phone vibrated just after sunrise. The secure caller ID displayed one name. Chief Raven. She answered immediately. Good morning. Raven's calm voice came through the speaker. We followed Ivory. NYX quietly set down her teacup. And? She met someone. Did you identify them? No. The individual never showed their face. Raven paused. But we recorded the entire conversation. NYX stood. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Inside Obsidian Holdings' private security headquarters, a massive screen illuminated the dim briefing room. Chairman Obsidian, Chief Raven, and 2 investigators waited for NYX. The recording began. The abandoned greenhouse appeared on screen. Ivory entered nervously. A hooded figure stepped from the shadows. The audio was crystal clear. Sterling was disposable. Rusty was disposable. You are replaceable. NYX listened without interrupting. Then came the sentence that made everyone in the room go still. The real game begins now. The video ended. Chairman Obsidian folded his paws. This isn't someone cleaning up loose ends. They're planning something bigger. NYX nodded. They are patient. And organized. Chief Raven enlarged a still frame of the mysterious figure. Although the face remained hidden, the hood had caught briefly on a broken branch. A small silver brooch was visible near the collar. A crescent moon, wrapped in ivy vines. NYX frowned. Zoom in. The image sharpened. One investigator searched a database. Seconds later, a match appeared. Lunar Ivy Society. A private student organization. Founded nearly 80 years ago. Officially, a charity club. Unofficially, very little information existed. Meanwhile, campus life continued. Students prepared for their first major economics presentation. Groups were assigned randomly. When the professor finished reading the list, the classroom erupted in murmurs. NYX looked at the board. Her teammates were Mochi, a cheerful orange tabby named Maple, and Ivory. Ivory slowly turned toward NYX, her face drained of color. After class, the professor smiled. I expect everyone to work together. Your presentation counts for 40% of your grade. There was no way to avoid it. The 4 cats gathered in the library that afternoon. An awkward silence filled the table. Finally, Maple laughed nervously. So, this is uncomfortable. Nobody disagreed. Mochi opened her notebook. Let's divide the work. NYX nodded. I'll handle the financial analysis. Maple raised a paw. I can do the presentation slides. Both looked toward Ivory. She hesitated. I'll research the case study. NYX simply nodded. That works. To Ivory's surprise, there was no sarcasm, no insults, no revenge, just professionalism. That somehow made her feel even worse. Later that evening, the 4 left the library together. As they crossed the quiet campus courtyard, a frightened voice suddenly cried out, "Help!" They all spun around. Near the fountain, a small first-year kitten was surrounded by 3 older students. One of them held the kitten's backpack. Another was laughing while emptying its contents onto the ground. The tiny kitten's eyes were filled with tears. Please, give it back. The 3 bullies laughed. What are you going to do about it? Without hesitation, NYX walked forward. Pick it up. The tallest bully turned around. Oh. And who's going to make us? NYX didn't answer. She simply stayed at him. Calmly, silently. The bully laughed, then reached toward her shoulder. His paw never made contact. Chief Raven appeared seemingly out of nowhere, towering over the students. His silver eyes were cold. I suggest you reconsider. The 3 older students instantly recognized the obsidian holding security emblem. Their confidence disappeared. One hurriedly picked up the scattered books. Another returned the backpack. Sorry. Within seconds, all 3 ran away. The little kitten looked up at NYX. Thank you. NYX smiled gently. No one deserves to be bullied. The kitten hugged the backpack tightly. I'll remember that. After the kitten left, Maple stared in amazement. You could have had them expelled. NYX shrugged. They made a foolish choice. They corrected it. I don't need to ruin someone's future over one mistake. Ivory quietly lowered her head. One mistake. Those words echoed painfully in her mind. If only her mistakes had stopped at one. That night, Ivory sat alone in her dorm room. She opened her desk drawer. Inside was an old silver pendant shaped like a crescent moon entwined with ivy. The same symbol Chief Raven had seen in the greenhouse. Her paw trembled as she picked it up. A tear rolled down her cheek. I never wanted any of this, she whispered. Suddenly, her phone buzzed again. Another message. Tomorrow, bring NYX. No excuses. Ivory stayed at the screen. Her breathing became uneven. Slowly, she looked toward the window. Across campus, she could see the lights of NYX's villa glowing softly in the distance. For the first time, she wasn't afraid of the mastermind. She was afraid of what they wanted her to do next. Ivory didn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, the message replayed in her mind. Bring NYX. No excuses. She sat beside her dorm room window until sunrise, watching the pastel-colored sky slowly brighten over Crescent Moon University. Birds began singing. Students hurried across campus. Life looked perfectly normal. Yet her paws would not stop shaking. Across campus, NYX had already finished her morning training. Unlike most students, she started every day before dawn. A quiet jog around the university gardens. 30 minutes of stretching. A cup of jasmine tea. Then reading financial news while the rest of campus slept. Chairman Obsidian often joked that she had inherited her grandmother's discipline. NYX smiled every time he said it. Chief Raven entered the dining room. Good morning, Miss NYX. She looked up from her tablet. You found something. He nodded. We traced the symbol. He placed several old photographs on the table. Most were faded with age. Black and white graduation pictures. University clubs. Award ceremonies. One photograph immediately caught NYX's attention. Nearly 50 cats stood in front of the university's original library. Pinned to every member's jacket was the same silver crescent and ivy emblem. The Lunar Ivy Society, Raven explained. It officially dissolved 23 years ago. NYX frowned. Officially. Raven nodded. But someone has continued operating it in secret. He placed down another document. Every major financial scandal involving wealthy university students over the last 20 years has one thing in common. The victims all attended Crescent Moon University. NYX slowly leaned back. So, I'm not the first target. No, and unless we stop them, you won't be the last. Meanwhile, Professor Willow entered the lecture hall carrying a stack of folders. Attention, everyone. Our economics presentations will now include interviews with local business leaders. The class buzzed excitedly. Professor Willow smiled. I've arranged visits from several executives. He looked down at the list. The first guest speaker will be Chairman Obsidian. The room exploded. No way. The richest chairman in the country. He's actually coming here. Several students immediately looked toward NYX. She simply continued writing in her notebook, as if nothing unusual had been announced. After class, Ivory slowly approached her. NYX. NYX looked up. Yes. Ivory hesitated. Would you like to study together after class? Mochi looked between them suspiciously. NYX noticed it too. Ivory almost never initiated conversations anymore, especially with her. Still, NYX smiled politely. Sure. What time? Ivory forced a smile. 6 o'clock. The Botanical Gardens. NYX agreed. I'll be there. As Ivory walked away, Chief Raven, watching discreetly from across the courtyard, quietly spoke into his earpiece. She's making her move. That evening, the university's botanical gardens glowed beneath soft golden lanterns. Pastel flowers lined winding stone paths. A small koi pond reflected the first stars of the evening. Ivory arrived 20 minutes early. She kept checking the time, checking her phone, checking the entrance. Her breathing became faster. Then, a message appeared. Don't disappoint me. She quickly locked the screen. A few moments later, NYX arrived. She smiled warmly. Sorry to keep you waiting. Ivory shook her head. No. I just got here. NYX immediately noticed something. Ivory's smile didn't reach her eyes. She looked exhausted, terrified, almost desperate. They began walking through the gardens. For several minutes, neither spoke. Finally, NYX broke the silence. You're scared. Ivory froze. I don't know what you mean. You've checked your phone 11 times in 5 minutes. You keep looking over your shoulder. And your heartbeat has been racing since I arrived. Ivory stared at her. How? NYX smiled gently. I pay attention. Tears began forming in Ivory's eyes. She wanted to tell the truth. She really did. But she remembered the hooded figure's warning. You are replaceable. Her courage disappeared. They reached an old stone bridge crossing the koi pond. The garden was strangely quiet. Too quiet. NYX suddenly stopped walking. Ivory looked at her nervously. What is it? NYX slowly scanned the trees surrounding them. Then she smiled. You can all come out now. Nothing happened. Then, leaves rustled. One by one, 8 masked cats stepped from the shadows. All dressed in black. All wearing silver crescent and ivy pendants. They had been surrounding the bridge the entire time. Ivory's face turned white. No. This wasn't supposed to happen. The tallest masked cat laughed softly. It happened exactly as planned. He slowly removed his hood, long white fur, ice blue eyes, a calm smile. He looked no older than 25. My name is Orion, president of the Lunar Ivy Society. He bowed politely. Miss NYX. I've wanted to meet you. NYX remained perfectly calm. I expected someone older. Orion chuckled. My father built this organization. I perfected it. He glanced at Ivory. You've served your purpose. Ivory took a frightened step backward. I brought her. Just like you asked. Orion smiled. You did. And now? You know too much. Ivory's eyes widened. What? Before anyone could react, one of the masked cats raised a tranquilizer dart gun. It fired. Thwip! The dart flew straight toward Ivory. But before it reached her, a black blur crossed the bridge. NYX shoved Ivory aside. The dart struck the stone railing instead. At the exact same moment, powerful floodlights exploded to life across the botanical gardens. Move! Chief Raven's voice thundered through the darkness. Dozens of Obsidian Holdings security officers emerged from every direction. The trap had never been for NYX. It had been for Orion. And this time, NYX had come prepared. The peaceful botanical garden erupted into chaos. The masked members of the Lunar Ivy Society scattered in every direction. Some vaulted over hedges. Others sprinted toward the bamboo grove. Several tried to disappear into the maze of flower paths. But Chief Raven had planned for this. Hidden floodlights illuminated every escape route. Security officers calmly moved into position. No unnecessary force, Raven ordered. Capture them alive. Orion didn't panic. Instead, he smiled. As expected. NYX narrowed her eyes. You knew we'd be here. I hoped you would. He slowly removed his gloves. I've spent years wanting to meet the famous heir of Obsidian Holdings. And now, we finally have. NYX remained perfectly still. You've gone through a lot of trouble. Orion laughed softly. I admire intelligent opponents. Behind NYX, Ivory collapsed onto the bridge. She stared at the tranquilizer dart embedded in the stone railing. Her entire body trembled. They were really going to. NYX looked back. They never intended to let you leave. Ivory burst into tears. I didn't know. I swear. I thought they only wanted to scare you. NYX didn't answer immediately. She simply helped Ivory to her feet. Stay behind me. Those 3 words shattered something inside Ivory. After everything she'd done, NYX was still protecting her. A loud whistle echoed through the gardens. Several smoke pellets landed on the pathways. Pastel-colored smoke rapidly filled the air. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. Thermal goggles. Raven shouted. Security officers immediately switched equipment. The smoke became useless. Orion clicked his tongue. Clever. NYX closed her eyes. Instead of relying on sight, she listened. Footsteps, breathing, branches moving. A twig snapped somewhere behind her. Without opening her eyes, she stepped sideways. A masked attacker lunged exactly where she'd been standing. The attacker stumbled. NYX gently grabbed the cat's wrist. Using the attacker's momentum, she redirected them harmlessly into a nearby hedge. Chief Raven watched with quiet satisfaction. Chairman Obsidian had insisted his granddaughter learn self-defense from an early age. Not to win fights, to survive them. Meanwhile, Orion slowly backed away. His smile never disappeared. This has been entertaining, but tonight wasn't my real objective. NYX opened her eyes. What do you mean? Orion looked directly at her. I wanted to confirm something, and now I have. He smiled wider. You really don't remember everything. NYX's heart skipped a beat. What did he know? Before she could ask, Orion pressed a small device hidden inside his sleeve. A deafening alarm suddenly blared across the gardens. Sprinklers activated. Water poured from every direction. The floodlights flickered. For just 2 seconds, everything went dark. When the lights returned, Orion was gone. The remaining masked members were quickly restrained. Chief Raven approached. We lost him. NYX looked toward the empty pathway. No, he left intentionally. Raven frowned. You think so? He learned what he wanted. And we learned almost nothing. One of the investigators hurried over carrying a black backpack abandoned by one of the fleeing members. We found this. Inside were several burner phones, encrypted flash drives, campus maps, class schedules, student photographs. The investigators examined them carefully. Then one photograph made everyone stop. It wasn't NYX. It wasn't Sterling. It wasn't Ivory. It was Mochi. Chief Raven looked up. Why would they be watching her? NYX gently took the photograph. On the back, someone had handwritten a single sentence. Potential successor. Across campus, completely unaware of what had happened, Mochi sat alone in the university library. She quietly organized books onto a return cart after finishing her homework. The elderly librarian smiled. You're always helping. Mochi laughed. I don't mind. The librarian handed her an old history book. You might like this. It was donated years ago. Mochi opened it absent-mindedly. A folded envelope slipped onto the floor. She picked it up. It had no name, only a silver wax seal. A crescent moon wrapped in ivy. Her smile disappeared. Back at the botanical gardens, ambulances arrived to treat minor injuries. Ivory sat wrapped in a blanket. She couldn't stop crying. NYX quietly sat beside her. After several minutes, Ivory finally spoke. I poisoned your drink. Silence. Chief Raven slowly turned. The investigators immediately activated their recorders. Ivory buried her face in her paws. I didn't know it would kill you. She sobbed. I thought. They told me it would only make you sick. NYX remained completely still. Although this was a different life, the confession answered the question that had haunted her since her rebirth. Ivory continued crying. They threatened my family. They said if I refused, they would destroy my parents. I was scared. I was selfish. I'm so sorry. A long silence followed. Finally, NYX spoke quietly. I'm glad you finally told the truth. Ivory looked up hopefully. Does that mean? NYX gently shook her head. It doesn't erase what you chose, but it may help stop the ones who manipulated you. Ivory slowly nodded. For the first time, she wasn't trying to protect herself. She wanted to help end it. Far away, Orion stood alone atop an abandoned clock tower overlooking the university. Rain soaked his white fur. He removed his hood, then looked down at an old photograph. It showed 2 tiny kittens. One was unmistakably NYX. The other kitten's face had been carefully scratched away. Orion whispered to himself. So, you still don't remember? He folded the photograph and slipped it back into his pocket. Good. Because when you finally do, you'll understand why this was never about money. He disappeared into the rain. Rain continued to fall long after the confrontation at the botanical gardens. Police vehicles surrounded every entrance. Members of the Lunar Ivy Society were escorted away one by one. For the first time in decades, the secret organization had suffered a major defeat. Yet, its leader had escaped. Inside Obsidian Holdings headquarters, the atmosphere was tense. Large digital screens displayed maps, timelines, and photographs gathered from the night's operation. Chief Raven addressed everyone in the room. We arrested 12 members, recovered 19 encrypted devices, and secured enough evidence to dismantle several illegal financial networks. He paused, but Orion planned for us to catch them. NYX nodded. They were distractions. He wanted something else. An investigator hurried into the room. We've finished questioning the suspects. And they all saying the same thing. What? The investigator looked uneasy. They've never actually seen Orion's real face. Everyone exchanged confused looks. But we saw him. The investigator shook his head. No. We saw the person pretending to be Orion. The room fell silent. Chief Raven slowly looked toward the paused security footage. The white cat wasn't the real mastermind. No. He was another pawn. NYX replayed the conversation in her mind. The confidence. The smile. The carefully chosen words. He had wanted them to believe he was in charge. Meaning, someone above him was still pulling the strings. Just then, another investigator entered carrying an old wooden box. We found this hidden beneath the greenhouse floor. The box was beautifully carved with ivy vines. Its lock had rusted shut years ago. After carefully opening it, everyone leaned closer. Inside were dozens of faded photographs, newspaper clippings, old university newspapers, membership records, letters. One photograph immediately caught NYX's attention. It had been taken 22 years earlier. A group of university students stood smiling beside the newly built economics building. One student wore the silver crescent and ivy brooch. Standing beside him was someone NYX recognized instantly. Her grandmother. Chairman Obsidian slowly stood. His expression changed completely. I remember him. NYX looked up. You knew him? He nodded quietly. His name was Professor Alden. He was one of the brightest economists in the country. He also hated our family. Another document fell from the box. Chief Raven picked it up. His expression hardened. This. Everyone looked over. It wasn't a letter. It was a contract. Signed decades ago. Across the bottom, two names appeared. Professor Alden. And Victor Sterling. Sterling's father. The room became silent. NYX immediately understood. This organization has existed for generations. Chief Raven nodded. And each generation recruited the next. Meanwhile, at Crescent Moon University, Mochi remained completely unaware of the investigation. She sat in her dorm room staring at the strange envelope she had found inside the library book. She finally broke the wax seal. Inside was only one sheet of paper. No signature. No greeting. Just one sentence. The truth about your parents begins beneath the old observatory. Mochi blinked. My parents. She read it again. Her parents had disappeared when she was only 3 months old. No one had ever discovered why. Her grandmother always claimed it had simply been a tragic accident. Could this letter be connected? Elsewhere, deep beneath an abandoned warehouse, a hidden elevator descended into an enormous underground chamber. Soft white lights illuminated rows of computer servers. Financial records scrolled endlessly across giant monitors. The white cat everyone believed was Orion stepped inside. Without saying a word, he bowed deeply. From the darkness, a calm voice spoke. You failed. The white cat lowered his head. I confirmed NYX remembers almost nothing. The unseen figure remained silent. And she suspects the Lunar Ivy Society. But she still doesn't know about Project Eclipse. The room became very quiet. Finally, the mysterious figure chuckled. Excellent. The less she remembers, the easier the final phase will be. The white cat cautiously asked. What about the captured members? The figure answered without emotion. They've already served their purpose. We move forward. And NYX. The figure slowly stepped toward a large window overlooking the underground command center. Only their silhouette could be seen. Long black fur. Elegant posture. Their face remained hidden by the darkness. When the moon festival begins. Bring her to me. The white cat nodded. Yes. My lady. Back at Obsidian Holdings. Chief Raven entered NYX's office carrying another report. We've identified every arrested member. NYX looked up. Anything unusual? He placed one photograph on her desk. It showed a smiling orange kitten from nearly 20 years ago. NYX frowned. Who is she? Chief Raven looked directly into her eyes. That's Mochi. NYX blinked. No. That's impossible. Chief Raven nodded slowly. It isn't Mochi. It's her mother. The resemblance was almost perfect. The same warm smile. The same amber eyes. The same tiny white patch on 1A. Chief Raven spoke quietly. Miss NYX. I think Mochi has been connected to this conspiracy since before she was born. NYX slowly looked back at the photograph. For the first time since her rebirth, she realized something terrifying. Maybe she wasn't the only target. Maybe she had never been the real target at all. The photograph remained on NYX's desk long after Chief Raven left. She picked it up again. On the left, Mochi's mother. On the right, Professor Alden. Standing between them was a young black cat wearing a university volunteer badge. The cat's face had been scratched out with something sharp. Deliberately. Someone hadn't wanted anyone to know who that third person was. Chairman Obsidian entered quietly. You've noticed it too. NYX nodded. The missing cat. Chairman Obsidian sighed. I've been hoping I was wrong. He opened another old file. Inside were several restored photographs. One after another. The scratched out cat appeared again. Always removed. Always hidden. Finally, one restored image revealed the face completely. NYX froze. It was her mother. Silence filled the room. Chairman Obsidian spoke softly. Your mother volunteered at Crescent Moon University before you were born. She investigated financial corruption among student organizations. NYX looked up. You never told me. I wanted you to have a peaceful childhood. He looked out the window. Perhaps. That was my biggest mistake. Chief Raven entered moments later. We've finished decrypting one of the flash drives. Everyone turned toward him. What did you find? He placed a laptop on the table. The recovered files contained thousands of financial transactions, bank transfers, property purchases, scholarship payments. Everything appeared random. Until Raven highlighted one column. Every victim shared one thing in common. Each had either inherited, or was expected to inherit, an enormous fortune. NYX quietly finished the sentence. They weren't stealing money. They were selecting successors. Raven nodded. They've spent decades identifying wealthy heirs, then manipulating or eliminating them. Meanwhile, Mochi couldn't stop thinking about the mysterious letter. That evening, she quietly walked toward the abandoned observatory on the northern edge of campus. The building had been closed for years. Broken stained glass windows glowed softly beneath the moonlight. She hesitated, then pushed open the old wooden door. Inside, dust covered everything. Ancient telescopes, bookshelves, broken furniture. Nothing seemed unusual. Until she noticed fresh paw prints. Someone had been there recently. She carefully followed them downstairs. Hidden beneath the observatory, she discovered a small underground archive. Shelves lined every wall. Hundreds of neatly organized boxes, each labeled with years. 1986, 1987, 1988, 1989. She slowly opened one. Inside were newspaper clippings about missing students. Another contained financial records. Another, family trees. Then, she found a file labeled Mochi Sunflower. Her heart nearly stopped, hands trembling. She opened it. Inside was a photograph of her as a newborn kitten. Attached beside it was another picture. Her parents, written underneath in faded ink. Project Eclipse candidate family. Back at Obsidian Holdings. Chief Raven's phone rang. His expression immediately changed. Miss NYX. What is it? It's Mochi. What happened? We lost track of her 30 minutes ago. NYX stood instantly. Where was she last seen? The old observatory. Without another word, NYX grabbed her coat. I'm going. At the observatory, Mochi continued searching through the files. Every answer only created more questions. Then, Mochi instinctively stepped backward. Who are you? My name doesn't matter. He calmly closed the door behind him. A floorboard creaked behind her. She slowly turned. Standing at the entrance was a white cat everyone believed to be Orion. He smiled politely. I'm impressed. You found this place all by yourself. What matters? He looked toward the file in her paws. Is that you finally learned the truth? Mochi's breathing became uneven. My parents. What happened to them? The white cat sighed. They asked too many questions. Her ears flattened. What did you do? He shook his head. I wasn't even born yet. But someone else. His smile faded. Made sure they disappeared forever. Mochi's eyes filled with tears. You liar. She turned to run. The white cat didn't chase her. Instead, he calmly pressed a small button hidden inside his sleeve. Heavy steel doors slammed shut throughout the underground archive. Every exit locked. Mochi pulled desperately at one of the handles. It wouldn't move. The white cat remained perfectly calm. No one is coming. You'll have plenty of time to read. Above ground, NYX's black SUV screeched to a stop outside the observatory. Chief Raven's convoy arrived seconds later. NYX looked at the abandoned building. Every instinct told her something was wrong. She whispered only 3 words. We're too late. Just then, the lights inside the observatory suddenly went out. Complete darkness. And somewhere beneath the building, a single terrified scream echoed through the tunnels. NYX was already running before the scream had fully echoed. Chief Raven and the security team followed close behind. The old observatory doors burst open with a loud crash. Dust filled the air. Broken furniture lay scattered across the entrance hall. Everything appeared abandoned. Too abandoned. NYX immediately noticed something. There are fresh paw prints. Chief Raven knelt beside them. They split here. One set goes downstairs. The others. He looked toward the ceiling. Never came back. NYX frowned. What do you mean? Raven pointed to faint drag marks leading toward an old bookshelf. The bookshelf had recently been moved. Behind it, a hidden elevator. Stay alert. The elevator groaned as it descended. 5 floors, 10 floors, 15 floors. Finally, the doors opened. Everyone stepped into a massive underground archive. Rows upon rows of filing cabinets stretched into the darkness. Hundreds of years of records, blueprints, photographs, financial ledgers, identity documents. Every cabinet represented another generation of carefully planned manipulation. NYX looked around in disbelief. This wasn't just a student society. Chief Raven nodded. It became an organization. Suddenly, a weak voice echoed through the darkness. NYX. Mochi. She sprinted toward the sound. At the far end of the archive, Mochi sat inside a reinforced glass room. She wasn't injured, but the heavy steel door had locked automatically. Mochi smiled weakly. I knew you'd come. NYX examined the control panel. No keypad. No lock. Chief Raven stepped forward. It's magnetic. We'll cut the power. Just as the engineers prepared their equipment, a familiar voice echoed through hidden speakers. Welcome. Every monitor in the room flickered to life. The white cat appeared on screen. He smiled calmly. I've been expecting you. NYX crossed her arms. You talk too much. He laughed. Perhaps. But you've earned some answers. The screens changed. Old photographs appeared. Professor Alden. Victor Styling. Dozens of wealthy families. Then, NYX's parents. Mochi's parents. Styling. Rusty. Ivory. Every face connected by red strings. The white cat spoke. For 40 years, the Lunar Ivy Society searched for extraordinary heirs. The smartest. The wealthiest. The most influential. He smiled. The future rulers of society. NYX narrowed her eyes. So you manipulated them? No. We observed. We tested. We eliminated the weak. Mochi looked horrified. You ruined lives. He calmly replied. No. Human greed ruined lives. We simply offered opportunities. Chief Raven interrupted. Where is your leader? The white cat smiled. You've already met her. Everyone froze. What? He looked directly into the camera. Our founder died decades ago. But the organization continued. Every generation chooses the next. NYX suddenly remembered the underground command center. The unseen silhouette. The elegant posture. The voice. My lady. The white cat nodded. Exactly. You've never met the real leader. Before anyone could ask another question, every screen suddenly went black. The white cat's smile disappeared. Someone else's face appeared instead. A graceful female black cat. Long silky midnight fur. Golden eyes. Elegant. Beautiful. Her appearance immediately stunned everyone. Even NYX stared. The resemblance was unmistakable. She looked almost exactly like NYX, only older. She smiled gently. Hello, NYX. NYX's heartbeat quickened. Who are you? The mysterious cat tilted her head. I'm surprised. You truly don't remember me. Chief Raven quietly whispered. Do you know her? NYX slowly shook her head. No. But something deep inside her mind stirred. A memory. A playground. Two tiny black kittens laughing together. Then, the memory vanished. The woman smiled sadly. It seems the accident erased more than we expected. NYX took one step toward the screen. What accident? The woman's expression softened. You desire the truth. But not today. The transmission suddenly ended. Every monitor shut off. The room became silent. Chief Raven looked at NYX. Miss NYX. Before he could continue, one of the engineers shouted. The magnetic lock is offline. The glass room opened. Mochi rushed out and hugged NYX tightly. I thought I'd never see you again. NYX gently hugged her back. It's over. But deep inside, she knew it wasn't. Not even close. Back at headquarters later that night, Chief Raven reviewed every recording from the observatory. He paused the frame showing the mysterious black cat, then quietly compared it with another file. His eyes widened. He immediately walked to Chairman Obsidian's office. Without saying a word, he placed both photographs side by side. Chairman Obsidian's face lost all color. One photograph showed the mysterious woman. The other showed a family portrait taken 23 years earlier. A little black kitten sat smiling beside NYX. The same golden eyes. The same long black fur. The name beneath the picture read, Noir Obsidian. Status, presumed deceased at age 6. Chairman Obsidian's voice trembled. Impossible. Chief Raven swallowed hard. I don't think Noir died. The room fell into complete silence. Far away, inside the underground command center, the elegant black cat watched the city lights through a giant window. She gently touched an old childhood photograph. One little kitten had been circled. NYX. The other, herself. She smiled sadly. Little sister. It's almost time for you to remember everything. The words echoed through Chairman Obsidian's office long after Chief Raven had spoken. I don't think Noir died. Chairman Obsidian slowly sat down. His pose trembled. I buried my granddaughter. Chief Raven answered quietly. You buried an empty coffin. Silence. For over 20 years, someone had carefully hidden the truth. NYX was called to headquarters immediately. When she entered the room, she noticed the old family photograph lying on the table. A little black kitten smiled beside her. Long silky black fur. Golden eyes. Almost identical. NYX picked up the picture. Who is she? Chairman Obsidian closed his eyes. Your older sister. My granddaughter. Her name was Noir. NYX's heart skipped a beat. I had a sister. He nodded slowly. When you were very young. You adored each other. You never went anywhere without holding paws. NYX stayed at the photograph. Tiny fragments of memory flashed through her mind. Two kittens chasing butterflies. Sharing ice cream. Watching fireworks together. Then, a loud crash. Rain. Darkness. Someone screaming. The memories shattered again. Chief Raven interrupted gently. We traced the signal that interrupted the observatory. He pointed toward a map. It came from Crescent Moon University's original clock tower. Chairman Obsidian stood immediately. We're ending this tonight. The Moon Festival had begun. Thousands of pastel lanterns floated across the university. Music echoed through every courtyard. Students laughed. Families took photographs. No one realized a battle was about to unfold only a few hundred meters away. NYX climbed the old clock tower alone. Chief Raven and the security team surrounded every exit below. The wooden stays creaked beneath her paws. Finally, she reached the top. Moonlight streamed through broken stained glass windows. Standing beside the ancient clock mechanism was Noir. She wore a long midnight blue coat. Her black fur shimmered beneath the moonlight. She smiled warmly. You've grown. NYX remained cautious. Why? Noir tilted her head. You'll need to be more specific. Why fake your death? Why destroy innocent lives? Why target me? For several moments, neither spoke. Then Noir sighed. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. She walked toward the massive clock face overlooking the city. When we were kittens, our parents discovered corruption involving powerful families. They believed exposing it would save lives. Her smile faded. They were wrong. They were murdered. NYX froze. What? No accident. No robbery. They were silenced. The words hit NYX like thunder. Noir continued. I survived. They took me. They raised me. They taught me. They convinced me that wealth always corrupts. So I built an organization to expose greedy heirs. NYX looked directly into her sister's eyes. By becoming exactly what you hated. Noir didn't answer. Because she couldn't. After a long silence, NYX stepped closer. You've been testing people. You manipulated styling. You used Rusty. You threatened Ivory. You destroyed families. Noir lowered her gaze. I know. You poisoned innocent people. Noir whispered. I know. You almost killed Mochi. I know. Tears finally rolled down Noir's face. I know. For the first time, NYX didn't see a mastermind. She saw a lonely cat who had spent 20 years believing revenge would heal her pain. It never had. Chief Raven's voice suddenly echoed from below. Miss NYX. The building has been surrounded. Noir smiled sadly. It seems my time is over. She slowly reached into her coat. Security officers below immediately raised their weapons. Don't move. NYX instinctively stepped forward. No. Noir pulled out. Not a weapon. A small silver bracelet. Worn and faded with age. Tiny stars decorated its surface. NYX stared. A memory exploded inside her mind. Two tiny kittens exchanging matching bracelets on their birthdays. Promise we'll always stay together. Forever. NYX gasped. Noir. For the first time in decades, Noir smiled like the little sister from the photograph. You remembered. Police officers rushed into the tower. Chief Raven cautiously approached. It's over. Noir nodded peacefully. Yes. She slowly placed the bracelet into NYX's paw. I've been running for 20 years. I'm tired. She raised both paws. I surrender. No struggle. No final attack. No escape. Only silence. As officers gently placed the handcuffs on her wrists, Noir looked back one last time. I'm sorry. Those two words weren't only for NYX. They were for every innocent life she had destroyed. Months later, the trial became the biggest financial crime case in the country's history. The Lunar Ivy Society was officially dissolved. Hundreds of victims recovered stolen assets. Dozens of corrupt executives were arrested. Ivory testified against the organization. Because of her full cooperation, her sentence was greatly reduced, and she dedicated herself to helping victims of financial fraud rebuild their lives. Sterling received a lengthy prison sentence for fraud, conspiracy, and embezzlement. Rusty accepted responsibility for his crimes and later worked with investigators to improve financial security systems, helping prevent similar schemes. Noir accepted every charge without argument. She never once tried to shift the blame. When asked why, she simply answered, I confused justice with revenge. 1 year later, graduation day arrived. Pastel confetti floated through the campus. Students laughed, cried, hugged, and took photographs. Mochi adjusted her graduation cap. I can't believe we made it. NYX smiled. We did. Chairman Obsidian watched proudly from the audience. Chief Raven stood nearby with his usual calm expression. For the first time, the future looked peaceful. As NYX accepted her diploma, she glanced toward the clock tower one last time. The place where hatred had finally ended. She quietly whispered, Goodbye, Noir. And this time, she truly meant goodbye.